At 5 o'clock, prior to council meetings, we have what's called public forum, and I'm going to open that public forum. Tonight we have two speakers, and I'm going to call firstly to the podium, Chris Ether, please, to come and speak. Chris, can you state the matter that you're speaking to?
G'day guys, thank you. Chris Ether is my name. I'm the president of Tamworth Bouldering, where I'm here in regards to on your agenda tonight, a lease of 7 to 11 Ann Street, place that we've been in for the last 9 years, so 10 years in March. The decision you guys get to make around this on the tenancy tonight of that site has a significant community ripples, and that's really why I'm here. In a nutshell, if the decision does go against us, then Tamworth we'll lose the sport. The premises has got high clearance, and that's part of it's a scarce resource, I guess, when it comes to that type of building. So there's no other alternative facilities available, as in a discussion through the sport and rec guys. So given the social impact that's happening, it would be a big loss for the Tamworth community. I just want to explain a bit of the back end of that. So this sport is built for social impact. That's what's driving us, and that's why we're here. Bouldering is hard work. It's highly demanding physically and mentally, and it's our responsibility to create a sporting framework around that. And that's what we do. That's why it works, and that's why ripples are widespread. It's rock climbing. It's a discipline of rock climbing. It's got massive ripples around the world. We've just driven it here in Tamworth, and there's a pretty big driver on a social impact level. That's where we're coming from. We're nearly 400 members last year, 392 exact. There's probably more than that, but that's what's on paper here. 320 of those are youth, 200 are high school age youth, and that's students from every high school. That's been the case since 2022. It's a sport that runs all year round, 4 seasons. The majority of those guys are registered twice a year, more than twice a year. So that's twice a week, all the time, regular patterns of engagement, which is where the ripples of the benefits come in. Healthy habits, healthy patterns. That's what it's all about. Gender neutral, male and female, ages range from 8 to 60 plus. There's plenty of guys in that older bracket, from the grey hairs and above. Actually, more than a third of all of over 40s market is the adult market in this community. So there's a lot of guys who pull the shoes on in that space. We're talking a participation rate in Australia that's more than both the rugby codes. There's 300,000 plus, has been for a number of years now, and it's nearly all in the metro areas. So we've just driven this from Tamworth because I know the benefits of that, and it's come from a lot of people, I guess. It's Olympic sport. It's in Tokyo, Paris, LA, leads into Brisbane 32. A lot of our affiliated mental health programs and health programs are built on the back of this sport program. That's what it's all wrapped around, and that's what we've been building. There's a heap of good news stories. There's so many and most of those stories aren't ours to tell. That lives in the youth space, but that's why we're doing what we're doing. Commercially, we're happy to negotiate on the offer if that's what's needed to make it more viable for council, or at least have the opportunity to. And on that note, we're also more than happy to open the books for full transparency on all matters, including a raised concern around the allied health professionals that have been working with us from this location, and there are no subleases in place. There never has been. Simon's been working with us from day one for nothing more than a handshake. He helps us keep together. He helps our kids, my kids included, keeps the rubber on the road, and he and his family have access to the gym and the sport for all that very reason, for the same thing. That's the deal. That's all there is. Marg and Tony with the healing room are the same. The PHN is a funded men's suicide prevention course that runs it's been running since mid-February. It starts at 6 o'clock again tonight this week. And these guys are wholly involved. So in a nutshell, I'm speaking up because this determination tonight means a lot to wider people in this community. It really does. We'll accept whatever the referee's decision is, but it would be a shame to lose the sport in this area, because that's the reality that we're dealing with if that happens.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your presentation. I'll call on the second speaker now in public forum. Second speaker listed is Kim Davies. If I could ask her to come to the lectern, please, and state the matter you're speaking to.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen from the Mayor. My name's Kim Davies. I'm a community support person for with the reference to the lease with the bouldering. With reference to the bouldering in Tamworth and a tender for the commercial use of the basketball courts in Ann Street. The Ethers have developed and grown a unique sport for Tamworth community over the last 10 years. With over 1,000 registrations, including primary, high school and adults using the Centre for Fitness, Sport and Competitions. Bouldering is used by all our high schools during sports days. The children learn resilience and their personal bests. The current sporting model is a non-for-profit, like other sports in our town, and this enables costs to be kept down, providing access for all our community. The Ethers have provided sponsored access for all members of the community, such as children who have suffered trauma from domestic family violence through SORA Community Services. A recent study of women who were victim survivors of domestic violence participated in bouldering indicated reduced anxiety and increased well-being on their pathways to healing. If the lease is offered or given to other tenders, this sport will be lost to Tamworth and our whole region. The sport is growing nationally and is now recognised in the Olympics, as Chris had said earlier, and the nearest climbing gym to Tamworth is Newcastle. Many professionals locating to our city have used them in the cities, and knowing that bouldering is here is another reason for people to relocate to our region. As a parent and a grandparent and a community member, it would be a huge loss for every sector of our community if the bouldering had to be dismantled. Please consider my points that I have highlighted tonight, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Councillors and members of the public, that concludes the registered speakers for public forum. So I'll close public forum on Tuesday the 12th of May here, and I'll ask all those present to vacate the chamber. And I will ask the councillors just to sit for a minute. I've just got something to ask you. before I start the meeting, I'd like to pay a special welcome to the youth councillors that are here tonight to join us for a very special evening, and all those in the public who are here as well. Tonight's a very special event because it's to this day and to this evening, 150 years since the first Mayor of Tamworth was elected. His name was Philip Gidley King. For those of you that travel around Tamworth and you go over around the West Entertainment Group, you'll find a Phillip Street, you'll find a Gidley Street, and you'll find a King Street. So today marks exactly 150 years since the election of that mayor. Tamworth was first proclamated as a borough on the 17th of March 1876. The first council election was held on the 9th of May 1876. And 3 days later, on the 12th of May, 150 years to the day, tonight, Tamworth elected its first mayor, Alderman Philip Gidley King. Although the mayor wasn't present at the time, his fellow candidates spoke highly of him, and in his absence, in a newspaper report said it was a momentous occasion, calling their delivery very eloquent. And I think that they made a very good choice because he actually spent 5 terms, not 5 years, 5 terms as mayor. The first official council was followed 10 days later on the 22nd of May 1876, beginning a long tradition of civic leadership, public debate, infrastructure planning and community service that continues to this very evening. It's very interesting that when that first council was elected and the mayor was first elected 150 years ago, their biggest challenge was finance. They were broke. They really had to start with not very much. And they had some issues in the city down near the river with some wetlands and some growth that was actually coming into what is today now the CBD, and they had to find funds to try and rectify those problems. They also made many trips to Sydney to meet with various government ministers to try and get them to agree to bring in the rail line through here to Tamworth, which ended up going out a bit further from Murrurundi. So the rail line back then only went to Murrurundi. So there was a lot of work being done there. Philip Gidley King also served in the Legislative Assembly for 20 years. So he was a very active fellow. He was involved in just about every charity in this borough, which it was called in those days. So while much has changed since those early days, from horse-drawn carts and electric vehicles, handwritten ledgers, I'm sure, Karen, you would love those, along with the General Manager and others, to live stream meetings, and the purpose of this local government still remains the same, exactly the same, serving the community and helping them to grow and to prosper. And that's what we are doing here today, as he did exactly 150 years ago. So really tonight is an opportunity to acknowledge all those who have served this community over the past century and a half as mayors, aldermen, councillors, council staff, volunteers, community leaders, who all helped shape Tamworth and the region as we know it today. And of course, we are so fortunate here in Tamworth now to have a youth council that are involved in some of that decision making where we are shaping our future. So thank you to the Youth Council for not only being here tonight, but for what you do. And finally, as the current Mayor, I'd like to say on behalf of my fellow councillors how proud we are to keep continuing the story 150 years on from that very first mayoral election. So thank you for doing what you do, and thank you for listening. I think it's a very momentous occasion, 150 years on. I'd like to say, but I probably won't be, I'd like to be here for the bicentenary. Councillors, I will open the meeting properly now and call for apologies and leaves of absence. We do have one apology, and that is from Councillor Mark Sutherland. Could I have someone move that we accept that? Councillor Mears, second to Councillor Brooke. All those in favour, say aye. Aye, we'll move on. Councillors, we'll now move to the minutes from the previous meeting. Could I have somebody please move that we accept them as a true and correct record? Councillor Budd, second to Councillor Mears. Councillor Budd, any comments? Anyone got any comments on our minutes? There being no comments, I'll put that item 2, minutes being correct and true record. All those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. We'll move on to disclosures of interest. Do we have any disclosures of interest? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just with item 11.1, in that I have some relationships with some of the parties mentioned in that item, both through some owners and operators of those parties, as well as people who are integral to the operations of those parties, as well as some of the clients and customers who I also support through students at school. So it's a non-pecuniary, non-significant interest, and I will remain in the chamber.
Thank you. Any further? Councillor Rodder.
Mr Mayor, item 7.6, Sheba Dam spillway and channel remediation. As the contractor will be undertaking works for my employer, Department of Planning, Housing and Industry, Crown Lands, I would like to declare a less than significant non-pecuniary interest. I will, however, leave the chamber at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Further disclosures? There being no disclosures, we'll move on to the Merrill Minute. Item 4, there is no Merrill Minute. Item 5, there is no notice of motion. We'll move straight into open council reports. Item 6.1. Councillor Matt Sharpen.
Yeah, sorry, Mr Mayor, I'll just quickly, before moving it completely, I'd just like to make mention of Table 1, Row 3, where the developer is stipulating that we are required to spend a certain percentage of this money on a particular group within the community. I think it's up to this council to decide where that money is spent, and so I'd like that bit omitted, and if there's a seconder that's willing to stand.
Have a seconder for that? Councillor Budd. You wish to speak any further to that, Councillor?
No, I'm happy with that, thanks.
Anyone wish to speak against that? There being no speakers against, any further comments? Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Although I'm happy to support it because it is just going to public consultation for 28 days, I do think that it really doesn't, it really discounts, I guess, the impact to our communities and the infrastructure that is used to convey their equipment to their project sites. And I think that it's sad that we can't glean more out of those project owners, because the impact will obviously be experienced for long beyond the project life, and as we've probably seen elsewhere, that they sort of shed their responsibility for some of the remediation costs and things like that. And I just think that I would love to see a little bit more meat on the bone for our communities that are impacted by these.
Further comments, councillors? Councillor Brooke.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to quickly comment that I'm still happy to support the alternative motion that's been moved.
It's a motion, Councillor Brooke. It's not
the motion with the
alternative.
omission of the what Councillor Sharpen mentioned, but I will say that I did think that was sort of in good form of the developer to suggest that in line with our partnership, with the Marinali partnership agreement. Well, I guess we'll see if we get commentary about that when it goes to public exhibition, but I think it would be a good standing for us to acknowledge that and to potentially readmit that back in.
Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, Councillor Rodder, I can't disagree with you, but I've been in contact with other councils in the quorum group, and we are really just on the mark of what we're entitled to. Councillor Brooke, I think what Councillor Sharpen has done with moving that is actually making a statement that this organisation as a council that is the money is paid to, we will be the ones who will make that decision, not the developer. And I think that setting anything other than a precedent, what they've actually asked for there, this is a clause has been included because of the developer. That's wrong, because all the developments into the future could be asking for things to be, for funds to be diverted to whatever project they like. We would be setting a very, very dangerous precedent. Councillors, the motion's been moved and seconded. I'll put the motion in. All those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now move into infrastructure and services. Could I have a mover for 7.1? Councillor Ryan Brooke, second to Councillor Mears. Councillor Brooke, do you want to speak to that?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly to say that in the past I have been vocal about wanting to see more regular updates about council's environmental and sustainability operations. And this report really does do that. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank staff for the report.
Speakers against? Speakers for, comments? No more comment? Oh, councillor Hempy.
Whoops. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm in favour of this, of course, because it allows for a portion of the river and the surrounding areas of the river to be utilised in a positive way. In this case, culturally, which is important. I'd hope that at some stage in the future we might see other areas of the river, particularly closer to the CBD, potentially explored to be more usable for members of the community. In such a way that it can be advantageous for the entire community to do so. So looking forward to seeing what might come from this and in the future.
Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I'll put the motion as in 7.1. All those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors will now move to 7.2, Rural Fire Shed Katingal. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Sharp and second to Councillor Mears. Councillor Sharp, any wish to speak to that?
I'll reserve the right, thanks.
Anyone wish to speak against the recommendation in 7.2? Any further comments on 7.2? Councillor Mears.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just like to commend this motion and hopefully we get it across the line. As everyone would know, the RFS play an incredible role in and around our region on a daily basis, whether it be mitigations or actually putting fires out. And everything we can do as a council to help finance that, I think is a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you. There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye, raising your hand. Carried unanimously. Councillors will now go to 7.3, Headworks charges. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Budd. Did you want to move it as printed or move something else?
I'll move it as printed, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Seconder of that? Councillor Mears. Oh, it's Councillor Rodder. Did you wish to speak against?
No, can I speak to it?
Pardon?
Can I speak
Oh,
to
you
it?
want to speak to it? Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Reading this,
Hang on. Wait a seconder.
for this amendment. No, that's not the amended motion we put forward.
That's what's printed in the business papers.
No, so there's another motion. I apologise, Mr. Mayor. There's another motion that's been put forward, superseding that one.
It's not an amendment, so you want to move a different motion?
Different motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yep.
So you withdraw the moving of what you first said?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. My apologies.
And the seconder, will you happy to withdraw? Yes. That's why I was a bit confused, Mr.
Me too.
Councillor Budd.
Thank you,
So,
Mr.
Councillor Rodder.
I'll actually defer to Councillor Budd. He was going to move this.
Councillor
I'm
Rodder,
happy
are you
to
going to
second it.
move that as a motion?
Sorry.
Do you want to move that as the motion?
Councillor Bard has moved this, but we don't have a seconder for it.
Yeah, so I'll second
You'll second it. Councillor Rodder. Okay. Councillor Budd, you can speak to it.
Here we go. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. We got there.
We're getting it right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When this matter was first viewed, I pondered the visual and the balance of council asking volunteer sporting groups to pay headworks on assets which belong to council and are used by community. This particular club's a non-profit organisation. It's not a commercial arrangement or lease. And the club really exists to provide services and amenity to our community through sport, through social engagement, through physical and mental health benefits, etc. There has been a grant process involved in this, and as these matters tend to occur, it's clearly been short in dollars by comparison to the original submission time of the grant. But being the club that they are, the North Companions have come together and offered their free labour and skills and trades to bring forward the project and deliver some facilities to our community. I find it a bit of an issue in these non-profits being asked to provide headworks to matters they don't own. I understand this is a little bit unusual. I do have a question for the Director shortly. But but I'm just wondering if we're supporting community or discouraging it from getting on with initiatives to make that amenity in our city. So I commend the motion, but I do have a question for the Director, if you don't mind, through you, Mr Mayor. Has this situation previously occurred whereby a non-for-profit organisation like this club, considering their significant contribution, been forced to pay headworks charges in this manner?
Okay. Mr Logan?
But I'm not aware of, I'm not aware of a situation where that might occur. It might have occurred in the past or in the recent past. I've been thinking about that, and it's a possibility that West's entertainment group paid headworks charges when they built the grandstand on Scully Park number 2. There's also a possibility that Tamworth Hockey Association may have paid headworks charges a long time ago when they built the clubhouse at the hockey centre out at, but I can't confirm either of those as a possibility.
Thank you, Mr Director. They're probably chalk and cheese projects by comparison to North Companions, but nonetheless, and of a commercial value as well. What this motion does is allow that headworks charges to be suspended for a period of time until such time as a policy is developed that accommodates such situations as this, and based on that, I commend the motion. Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against? Further comments for? Councillor Mears?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to congratulate Councillor Budd for the amendment to the motion. There was a fair bit of, not contention, but disagreement at some point. Thankfully, we've all put our heads together and come up with what we think is a much better option and still get the job done. So my thanks to Councillor Budd, I think Councillor Rodder, Councillor North, Councillor Ryan. We put our heads together and come up with an alternative.
Councillor Sharpen? No, Councillor Impey?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. We live in an environment where it costs a lot more money to build anything these days than what it seemed to have been the cost years ago. It doesn't seem that long ago that 250,000 could build a modest 3-bedroom home, Mr Mayor, and now it's struggling to build a 15.5 metre by 9.2 metre toilet block. Given that environment we live in, I think it's sound that we as a council, we as a governing body, work really well, in fact, and better than what we potentially have in the past to ensure that we enable these sorts of building projects not only to go ahead, but to be considered in the first place. If we were to go ahead and charge these headworks charges as per routine, there would be other sporting bodies out there who provide services to the community in many ways, shapes and forms, such as already mentioned, keeping people active, mental health and others, and other benefits and so forth. So we need to ensure that we have we create an environment where those other sporting groups out there in our community who want to improve amenities have the opportunity to be more, to entertain that thought more so than what they potentially have in the past. So I'm also in support of this change. I'm sure we will put our heads together at some stage and come up with something that is workable for the community and for those sporting groups who want to grow and prosper and flourish. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye. Motion carried unanimously. We'll now move to 7.4. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved and a seconder, moved Councillor Sharpen, second to Councillor North. Councillor Sharpen, do you wish to speak to that? No. Any opposition to the motion at 7.4, recommendation? No opposition. Any comments? No comments. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, say aye, raising your hands. Thank you. Carried unanimously. Councillors will now move to 7.5. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Budd, seconded Councillor Brooke. Councillor Budd, do you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Absolutely, this should occur and show total respect for that sacred day. Obviously, we have to accommodate those agencies to do rubbish collection on their own rate, etc. But certainly it should be closed and it should not be open to the public on that day. Thank you.
Speakers against? Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye. Raising their hand, carried unanimously. We'll now move Councillor Roddy. You wish to leave the room? Councillors, we'll go to 7.6, Sheba Dam. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Impey.
Mr Mayor, I have an alternate motion to move. Thank you.
Sorry?
I have a different motion to move. Thank you. Alternate motion.
So Councillor Impey withdrawing or?
Yes, go with the alternative. Sorry.
So councillor Budd, you're moving.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, do you wish me to read it out, Mr Mayor, or it's essentially a change of two?
Could I have a seconder? Councillor Impey.
Do you wish me to read it out, Mr Mayor, or is it it's essentially a change of two words from the original? If you wish me to read it out, I will. We'll put the words "do not agree to lower the gate fee."
You may speak to it.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. When I first considered this recommendation, my mind just went back to comments and debates and statements we make regularly in relation to cost shifting from state government agencies and federal government agencies back on local council, i.e. the ratepayer. So in relation to this matter, we're being asked to consider a significant discount from the state body, being Crown Lands. A significant discount that would leave, on estimates, it's not written in stone because the weights and volume can't be clarified at this point in time, but essentially a $75,000 discount to this government agency, which means the ratepayers don't benefit from that $75,000 injection into our budget. Certainly the waste fund reserve could certainly do with an injection of funds, and this is not budgeted or expected. It's unrealised money coming into that account. Of course, at the 11th hour, it suggested that perhaps Crown Lands may not do the work if they can't get the discount, which is disappointing. I think that's really blackmail. It's blackmailing a council to say, you don't give us a discount, we won't do the work. Well, if that's their decision, that's their dam, then so be it. I'd much rather see that money come into our accounts and be used for other more productive projects and initiatives in our community that might benefit our community. For example, and without creating excitement in the community, you could fund, perhaps, or consider funding some sort of bulk waste pickup initiative to assist community, which would be seen by community as a great thing. So I commend it to us that we don't allow Crown Lands to dictate to us what their terms will be, and that we do in fact not agree to lower the gate fee associated with the disposal of this contaminated soil. Thank you.
Councillors, do everyone speaking against that recommendation? Further comments on the recommendation? Councillor Brooke.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I have a somewhat of a procedural question. I believe there was some questions submitted ahead of the meeting for this. Did we have the question and answer prepared to read out?
Do we have a question?
Put on the website, Mr Mayor.
Put on the
website? Fair enough. In that case, I would like to move an amendment to the motion on the screen, which I did pre-circulate the staff for us to make things easier. It's essentially adding in a second point.
Hang on, sorry, keep going.
Which would read, request that applications to alter gate fees for large quantities of contaminated waste continue to be referred to the elected council for determination via a council meeting agenda into the future.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Impey.
I guess point of order, Mr Mayor, I believe if the, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if the mover and the seconder of the original motion agree to the amendment, we could just adopt it without a vote.
Well, you moved an amendment. If the mover and seconder do accept that, we can take it, but otherwise you've got to have a seconder. So do the mover and the seconder of the original motion accept that?
Yes, Mr Mayor, thank you.
Yes,
So
Mr. Mayor.
your addition becomes part of the original motion. Thank you. Further comments, councillors?
Mr Mayor, if I may, can I just get some clarification on what the definition of large quantities of contaminated material is?
Contaminated soil in particular, I believe the wording was.
You know, sorry, Mr Mayor, with respect, we need to know what large quantities are. Is it greater than 5 tonnes, less than 2,
Well,
15?
I guess that goes to the why I asked about the question that was submitted with that. The answer I got is in the upcoming fees and charges that we're set to put on public exhibition in the item later tonight. It was advised that there would be they could be considered via application, and I believe the wording there would be indicated as via application.
I think what the director's asking is there a figure you want to put on that? It's very difficult for the staff to make a decision on something unless they've got a figure for what is a large quantity.
Yeah. And I guess my intention there would be that if we did receive a request for this, like we did with this item here, but if we wanted to put a figure to it, we could say 100 tonne.
You want to put 100 tonne?
Mr Mayor, if I could make a suggestion, Councillor Brooke, I think really what you want is that when somebody makes an application to have a reduction in fees, you want it to be referred to council.
Correct,
They would
yes.
only make an application when they think that the cost of disposing of it is going to be excessive. So we'll just take out the reference for large. Requested application to alter gate fees for contaminated waste continue to be referred to the elected council.
I'm happy with that as a way forward.
Is the mover and the seconder happy with that?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor.
So that now becomes the motion. Further comments, councillors? Being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation as printed. All those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. We'll ask Mark Rodder to come back into the room. Councillor Rodder. Councillors, we'll now go to item 7.7, Regional Water Network Leak Detection. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Brooke, second to Councillor Impey. Councillor Brooke, you wish to speak to that?
Reserve the right, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments on that recommendation? There being no further comments, I'll put 7.7. All those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. We'll now go to 7.8, membership of the Murray-Darling Association. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor North, second to Councillor Sharpen. Councillor North, you wish to speak to that?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Anyone wish to make comments? Councillor Mears?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I don't support the council withdrawing from the Murray-Darling Bank Association at this time. While there are acknowledged challenges in achieving consistent positions across the diverse membership, the key issue is that if council is not a member, it has no seat at the table, no ability to influence direction of the basin-wide advocacy. Decisions, submissions and policy positions will continue to be formed regardless, but without our input. Withdrawal does not remove the issues, it simply removes council's capacity to shape them. In a policy environment as critical as water security, the absence of a voice is a significant risk to our community.
You have a seconder, councillor? Oh, you're not moving an amendment? No. Okay, sorry, speaking against?
It's also important to recognise the disagreement within the association is not a reason for disengagement. It is, in fact, exactly what participation matters, why participation matters. To ensure regional priorities, including Tamworth's water security needs, are understood and represented in those discussions. If council withdraws, we don't silence the debate, we simply silence ourselves. In a basin-wide system where decisions will be made with or without us, the real question is whether we want a voice influencing those outcomes or to watch them unfold without it.
Further comments, councillors? Councillor Rodder?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I agree with Councillor Mears that we should remain in the Murray-Darling Association. They ultimately do not determine any of the decisions of the state government. State government owns the infrastructure that in terms of what was the concerns and what we're complaining about, the state government is responsible for that infrastructure. If they determine that we're going to get a pipeline from there to here, then they will do that. The Murray-Darling Association will have no control over that. They can complain all they like, but they do not own the infrastructure. And I feel that staying in this organisation as we sink back into drought, I think is an important thing at this time. Keeping in mind that I think as a member of that association, we can advise those councils that have concerns about pipelines from extant dams, particularly Keepit Dam. It derives a lot of water from catchments within the TRC local government area, and we should be reminding them of that, and we can't do that outside the tent. We can do it inside, and I think this is why my preference would be to remain in that organisation, to make that quite clear. And they still, the other, we get over that hurdle. We've still got to advocate for other important water initiatives that they may have some say in. So I think that by leaving that organisation, it makes us look like we're sooks, and I think that we shouldn't. We should be avoiding that.
Further comments, councillors? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Well, there are 3 other councils who are not members, Glen Innes, Walker and Uralla. We could be the 4th, depending on how tonight goes. I just wondered, normally when one becomes a member of an association, one receives a benefit for being a member of that association. If we were no longer in that association, this is a question for you, Mr Mayor, perhaps for the Director to respond to. If we're no longer a member of that association, do we lose anything from that?
I can answer that. The answer is no, we lose nothing. I've already spoken to the Chair of Chairs of that organisation. We're in Zone 11 here. We joined the association on my request. I'm not sure whether it was in this council or the council before, because we'd never been a member before. And of course, we did join. We've had some benefit from that. But at this point in time, the membership of our zone within the association is totally opposed to Tamworth growing. It's totally opposed to Tamworth getting any water from anywhere. And speaking to the Chair of Chairs, which is from Albury, they've said they fully understand why we wouldn't want to be a part of it anymore, and they want us to continue to negotiate with them and talk about our concerns and raise our issues with them at the top table, and they will be wanting us to be involved there, and they fully understand why we wouldn't want to be involved with the new management of Zone 11. Completely support what we're doing. And the answer to your question, we lose nothing. Councillor Budd.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Certainly this discussion is not a place for us to air dirty laundry with in terms of comments made by other local government areas and individuals. But certainly the last week or so, we've seen some quite nefarious activity by some of the members of this particular zone who have actively, and I say this, actively campaigned against Tamworth, accused us of terrible things, which we won't get into, but when you're part of an organisation, you must have some sort of benefit and some sort of return. So I think we pay over $7,000 a year membership to be part of this association. Ratepayers' money to an organisation that is working against us. In addition, they've created an alliance within that particular zone, which has been even more active in not representing our area, suggesting we should stop growing, suggesting we should reduce our water usage. We know that we're one of the best water users in the area, in the state, in fact, per capita. The questions raised by Councillor Rodden in relation to we need to explain these things to this group, they have been explained. I know the Director's done some magnificent work, and I commend him for that frustrating position and work that he does, and it's been ignored. And there are agendas within that group, and unfortunately it doesn't represent what we do. It doesn't represent the regional hub that we are, and they are surplus to our needs. They are not helping us at all. and I commend the motion.
Further comments, councillors?
Can I just close the debate, Mr Mayor?
Yes, you may.
I fully support and endorse what Councillor Budd has been saying, actually, and I feel that we're being treated with contempt, the way some of the councillors in this group is behaving. So I see, this is why I move the motion. I'm pretty passionate that we shouldn't be involved in it. We shouldn't be contributing the $7,000. They can stump up an increased fee because it's covered across, it'd be a set fee for the group, and we can still negotiate or talk to the chair at the very top level anyway. So I think we get greater benefit out of running our own show if we're not going to get any cooperation with other councils locally.
Thank you, Councillor North. The debate is now closed. I'll go put the motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion, raise their hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those against? 3. 5, 3. Motion carried. Councillors, will now move to 8, Governance Strategy and Finance. 8.1. Could I have a mover and a seconder of 8.1? Move Councillor Budd, seconded Councillor Impey. Councillor Budd, you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Congratulations to Councillor Southern on his invite to attend. What another fantastic ad for our brand. A councillor going up there to represent the great things that this community does and this council does. Fantastic outcome. I look forward to some feedback from him on the panel.
Anyone wish to speak against the recommendation? Further comments on the recommendation? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'll echo those words of Councillor Budd. I might just add one small comment, and that is that for those who aspire to become councillors of the future, and we perhaps have some of those members in the room in the Youth Council, the opportunity through being part of a council like ours is that you can spread your wings somewhat and be involved in other strategic activities as Councillor Sutherland is being involved with in that particular event. So I certainly encourage members of the Youth Council and other members of the community to put their hand up so that they can contribute in other ways to the benefit, to the thriving and to the growth of our community. So well done to Councillor Sutherland.
Further comments, councillors? Being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye, raising your hands. Carried unanimously. Councillors will now go to 8.2, Integrated Planning and Reporting. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Brooke, seconded Councillor North. Councillor Brooke, you wish to speak to that?
I reserve the right, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that report, that recommendation? Further comments on that recommendation? There being no further comments, all those in favour of the motion, raise your hands and say aye. Carried unanimously again. Councillors will now go to item 8.3, Draft Budget Review. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Sharpen, seconder Councillor North. Do you wish to speak to that, Councillor Sharpen?
Just very briefly, Mr Mayor, it is a tough time we live in at the moment, and I'd like to thank the staff for the hard work that they do getting these budgets in front of us. We can see that the special rate variation is doing its job. We're seeing an awful lot of work happening around the region. And in some ways, thank goodness the rain's holding off to hold the roads together. But we do have a lot of work to do in order to keep us getting through the current budget periods. But yeah, I'd particularly like to thank the staff for being able to put these reports together so we can read them. It helps with all the different colours and arrows and yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Anyone wish to speak, make comment? Councillor Rodder.
Mr Mayor, just a question in relation to the general fund. Could we, what likely savings could we identify in the general fund that could deliver a saving of $3.6 million for next year's budget?
Mr General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I know we've got the Manager of Finance in the room, but I'll have a crack at it first. And look, there's a range of issues we need to address, Councillor Rodder, everything from our organisational structure, our resourcing in particular areas of the organisation, coming back to council and talking about service levels. All of those adjustments will require the input of councillors because you can't squeeze this out of a stone. The councillors will have to make some pretty significant decisions around where we're going to make some of these savings across the organisation, but it will be a whole of organisational thing. There's no particular area that's been identified. You'll notice from the report that historically, and this is just a fact for local government, that there are a lot of vacancies in the organisation. It's important for the community and for the councillors to understand what the ultimate structure would look like to deliver services at that peak level. But ultimately, some of those positions will not be able to be funded, and that will be the decisions we'll bring back to council to actually still have those positions in the structure to demonstrate that is what we would like to deliver, but that we simply cannot provide the funding at this point in time to cover those, and that is typically where the savings will come from.
Further questions, councillors? There being no, Councillor North.
Not so much questions, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to congratulate staff again, and the quiet achievers behind the scenes that do the hard yards. That it's not the roads and pools and rubbish, wastewater. It's the quiet achievers, and I think this is a very tough job, an extremely tough job, given the 12 months we're about to head into. We've got considerable increases in costs, well above what was planned. We've got issues in this report. It highlights issues where we've got to try and find savings that were forecast for the SRV. That's going to be a challenge. We need to find, there's going to have to be cuts in various places. It's not the nice or the sexy thing to talk about, but we all need to be aware there's going to have to be cuts, and I think the community needs to be aware of that and accept, start to accept that some of these things are going to be very hard for the next 12 months given their increasing costs across the board. So well done to Cheryl Young and Rami and the whole group in financial services, because I think it's a very big challenge we face ahead.
Thank you. No further comments. I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye, raising your right hand. Carried unanimously. Councillors, that takes us to item 9, community services. We have one item in there, and that's a funding request from Tennis Australia. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Move Councillor North, seconded Councillor Budd. Councillor North, do you wish to speak to that?
I will briefly, Mr Mayor. I understand that initially there was, it's a great event and we love to support it. Initially I think it was a request for $50,000.
Yes, there was.
And I think there's a bit of pushback behind the scenes on that, and I think this is part of our cuts, I guess you'd say. That we can, I think $30,000 is a reasonable sponsorship or addition, support to this event coming here. I think we needed to support it and keep these things coming in through our system. And it's a great event, so it's mixed emotions and feelings we have with all this. But I overall wish to support it.
Further comment, or anyone wish to speak against the recommendation? Further comments on the recommendation? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I support the recommendation. We do know these events bring visitors to our city and our region. And we do know that these events, by going forward, allow us to put our city and region in the spotlight. I've lost count of the number of people who've told me how impressed they were at last year's tennis ATP event that was held here at the courts in Tamworth. At that event, we even had one player who won that event who made it to the second round of the Australian Open. So it's not just an event that attracts backyard tennis players like myself. It attracts good quality, high quality tennis players who are just on the fringe of the professional sphere. I think Leighton Hewitt's son was even part of that group of players who made it last year. So these events do attract some of the cream of the crop, and they also attract people to our city. I myself was one person who moved to this city as a result of sport, and that was the sport of hockey. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that opportunity. I'd love to know how many people moved to our city as a result of visiting our city for events. However, I guess the small elephant in the room, if for want of a better word, is we probably need to go back, and when we start talking about financials and finances and so forth in coming weeks, we need to consider some sort of budget line rather than an ad hoc approach to this, so that as a council, we know how much money there is in that budget line. There was a bit of an attempt some years ago, a throw at the stumps, if you like, to have a levy paid by organisations who benefited from these sorts of events. However, that didn't grow legs. So we need to move forward to work out how we can come up with something that identifies this is how much there is, and therefore this is how much will go towards events and supporting events into the future, so that it's not so much of an ad hoc thing. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further comments, councillors? Councillor Mears?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I don't speak poorly of the event, I guess, but my concerns are that, especially over the last 2 years and leading into the future, we continually raise our fiscal position with the council. And despite the branding and there's no clear evidence that qualified evidence of return on this investment. The outcomes are largely assumed rather than demonstrated through measurable data, and that I think goes to what Councillor Impey was saying. Because we have no clear cost-benefit analysis provided, no qualified visitor spend or economic impact figure, and no comparison against alternative uses of this funding, in the absence of robust evidence, council is being asked to support ongoing discretionary expenditure from the general fund based primarily on perceived promotional value rather than proven economic returns. And as fiscally things get tighter and tighter, I think it's very important that council look at each individual event. And yes, it does bring a few extra jobs into town. It brings great sport into town, no doubt about that. We've got to realise that there are thousands and thousands who don't participate in tennis or other sports, and those residents are continually digging into their pockets to support these things. I think we need to look at what is more cost effective. Initially, I was very, very anti the $20,000 we gave to the NRL, but there was a distinct line to the media generation on Tamworth from that event, as opposed to others. So I think it's a clear plan we're going to have to look at and really look at what fiscal benefit there is to Tamworth other than just bringing visitors into town.
Councillor Rodder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Mears with some of his comments that he's made about this because, as we saw with the previous recommendation, that we are bleeding money from the general fund, and we probably need to look at some of the subsidisation of some of these events. Because I think sometimes it's easy to go to council and say, how about you support this and we'll make you a major sponsor. I don't know if that's really what we should be probably looking at into the future. We probably should be encouraging them to find alternative sponsorship, because I know there are events that are held in Tamworth that actually don't seek funding from council or sponsorship from council. One of them being, and Councillor Impey mentioned hockey, in July is the York Cup Kim Small Shield. It attracts over 900 participants, plus parents, plus grandparents, and often siblings, and council provides no funding, but you can, it's held over 3 days, 3 evenings, so there's plenty of bed stays in accommodation here, and obviously a lot of investment in the local economy. And I think that we should probably be, the time has come when we probably need to encourage some of these organisations that want funding from us to say, oh, you're going to have to go and look for some sponsorship elsewhere, because it's just, the can's empty. And, we've, as I said, we've just passed a recommendation seeking to try and find 3.6 million in next year's general fund, and these are easy finds. And I think if the sporting events aren't sustainable on their own, then we probably should be needing to look at that.
Further comments, Councillor Budd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't disagree with some of the comments. Quantifying what's happening with these events, I think, is important to community to prove that we are, in fact, getting a return. through you, Mr Mayor, I think the most appropriate person that can speak to the return to community would be the Director of Creative Communities and Experiences, because that's where this comes through. And we know that this gets spent on accommodation, and we know it gets spent on a range of things, but the extent of how it gets spent is perhaps hard to quantify. But perhaps the Director would be able to give us some feedback on his perception and his experience with what that returns to Tamworth.
Peter?
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. Yes, as you can see in the report, the economic impact work and statement was prepared by our economic development team, and it does show a return on investment there. The other thing I'd like to highlight is this sponsorship, which was in place last year as well, gave us the branding of Capital of Country, which is a very important brand statement with our Tamworth region. That will continue. So we got to have that out there. It was in the media, as you can see through the attached annexure. Yeah, so I think there are enormous benefits from a branding perspective for the city that, as Councillor Impey mentioned before, that people looking to move to the city watch the news down in Newcastle, down in Sydney, see Tamworth Regional Council's logo, see the activity that's happening there, see the facilities that are on that screen. So I think there are enormous benefits.
Thank you. Any further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I'll just make one, and that is that we probably shouldn't forget the investment that was made into this facility. We're one of two in regional New South Wales. If the events don't come here, they'll go to Sydney or Newcastle, probably Sydney. But the amount of investment that was put into that through Tennis Australia, Tennis New South Wales, this council, the federal government and the state government, and of course the West Entertainment Group, there was a huge amount of investment there from the tennis bodies themselves. And I think it's probably something that we shouldn't lose sight of, that when they come to us and they want to host these massive events, and world tours in this case, I think we need to think about that as well. And I do understand what Councillor Rodder and Councillor Mears said. I fully understand all of that, but I do think we've got to be careful that if we knock back too many of these events into the future, and we've got to be very careful how we support them, and I think we've got to be very mindful fiscally of that, how we do that. But a lot of the facilities we've got here in Tamworth have come about from government grants, and they've come to us because they know that we will support the sporting events that will come to Tamworth, regardless of whether it's hockey, cycling, tennis, soccer, or whatever it might be. Those organisations know that they can come here and they'll get supported, and the government also knows that. So when we put our hand up for some grants to build better facilities, they know that we'll support those sports into the future for regional, state and national events. So I think that's just something that we should keep in the back of our mind when we're making these decisions, but at the same time be fiscally responsible in the way we do what we do. So councillors, I'll put that recommendation on 9.1. All those in favour say aye and raise your hands. Carried unanimously, thank you. Councillors, I'll look for a motion to move into closed council, but before I do, I'd like to say a very good thanks to the Youth Council for being here tonight on a very special occasion, being 150 years since the first mayor was elected, and to those in the audience that attended as well. So thank you all, and I'll ask for a motion to move into closed council. Councillor Budd, Councillor Sharp, and all those in favour say aye. Thank you.
Just with item 10.4, is there any chance it might be able to be heard in open council? That's the WO and Dam Safety Review.
I can't hear him.
11.4. Sometimes we can come out to ask for something to be heard in open council. Item 10.4. Oh, 11.4, Dungowan Dam Safety Review. On page 48.
11.4 down, safety report. Pardon?
It's a tender, it's considering tenders that are lodged by tenderers, and therefore it can't be.
It's a tender and there's commercial in confidence, so it can't be held in open. Thanks, Mr General Manager. If you can report on closed council matters.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council, this is a report of the closed session of the ordinary council meeting held on the 12th of May 2026. In closed council this evening, you considered 4 items of business. For the first item of business, 11.1, expression of interest for the proposed lease of 7-11A Ann Street, South Tamworth. You resolved to defer consideration of this matter pending further negotiations with the proponents. For items 11.2 through 11.4, you adopted the recommendations as per the business paper.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. That concludes business of council, so I'll therefore close the council meeting. And in closing the council meeting, I'll ask, is there any directors had any items that you wish to raise before we depart? Oh, we can move. Thank you. Thank you very much.